Hello again, Vinyl Community, Matt here, and today is the day. I've mentioned it in a couple of my recent videos, but today's the day we're going to show the eBay vinyl haul. So this was from a seller who I bought from before, a couple of times before, and they're a UK seller, but they offer free shipping worldwide. So that kind of gets my attention right away. And also the starting price for all of the records is 99p, which works out to about $1.30 with the exchange rate. So without any further ado, let's get started. These are mostly 80s records. There are a few 90s in there as well, mostly 45s, but we're going to start off with the 12 inches right here. Starting off with 12-inch single of Amityville, The House on the Hill by Lovebug Starski. This is a really great track, unusual song from 1986. I don't even know what kind of music to call it, to be honest with you. Next up we have Oh Well, and Oh Well was the name of the song as well. This one was not in, this is the one that's in the worst condition. Can't really make it out on the camera there, but so it's got quite a lot of light scratches on it, which is a little unfortunate, but we'll see. The B side isn't so bad, it's the A side that's worse. So we'll take a look at that. Take a look at that after I've cleaned it. Next up we have the Beatmasters, Burn It Up, great house track from 1988. Sabrina Johnson, Peace. This is a dance song from 1991. Got a lot of radio play back in the day. It's on the EW East West label. Next up we have an album, The Christians self-titled. I don't know if they were actually a Christian band as such. Maybe they were. I never really thought about it too much, but I got this purely because it has the song Ideal World on here, which is a really, really good song. And this is on, let me see, Island, is it? Or yeah, this is on Island Records. Yeah, really, really like that label. And you know, the Christians did a few other, you know what, they did a really good cover of Harvest for the World, which is on a different album, but yeah, it's not on this one. So yeah, I kind of liked them. They had a few songs that I liked back in the day. Next up, it's kind of cheesy. In fact, it's very cheesy. Black Lace, Party Party. Now, I showed a couple of 45s of theirs maybe a month or two ago. Do the Conga and Agadoo. This is just the album, that's all it is. But it also contains Superman and the Birdie song, both of which were staples of any school disco back in the day. It's on the Telstar label, which I'm not too thrilled about because, in my experience, they cram a lot of songs onto each side, and this doesn't seem to be any exception. There's 8 tracks on each side. But the disc, the vinyl's in like mint condition, so we'll see how that sounds. Next up we have Status Quo, 12 Gold Bars. This is a greatest hits album. Contains Rockin' All Over the World, Down Down, Caroline, Whatever You Want, and several others. I love the back of it, look at that. Bars of gold. Next up, and bear in mind, most of these I did just end up paying the 99p for because nobody else bid on them. Some of them I paid more, like I got into a bidding war. I think the Status Quo I paid more. I want to say I paid a few pounds for this one. But like the Black Lace, I'm pretty sure nobody else bid on it. You know, same thing with this one. The Best of the Stylistics. I do have the 45 of You Make Me Feel Brand New. But it doesn't play very well, so I was kind of glad to pick this up. And it contains a bunch of their other hits as well, of course. It's on, I love this label, the orange Avco label. Look at that, beautiful. So it's also got Break Up to Make Up. I don't know if I know any of the other tracks on it, to be honest with you, but I know those two. And again, I don't think anybody else bid on this one. So it's not like I paid too much for it anyway. One thing I did notice, unfortunately, is that several of these are going to need gluing. And this is a prime example right here. But once I glued it, you won't be able to tell the difference. So that doesn't really bother me too much, especially if it's a clean, if it's not actually torn, it's just where the glues come away. It's an easy fix. Next up, we're going to go to the 70s Strobes, and by choice. This was kind of out of curiosity. I know of them. I didn't, until now, I didn't own anything by them. I love the artwork, look at that. And I understand they're kind of like folk rock, folk music. So I was pleased to get that. They're on the, it's on the A&M label, which given the design of it, makes me think this is a later repressing, probably from the late 70s. And then the final 12-inch record. This is a blind buy. The Louisiana Shakers Band. I got this just because my wife and I went to New Orleans a few years ago. Absolutely loved it. And it has When the Saints Go Marching In on it, which is, you know, classic New Orleans jazz. New Orleans has a lot of street musicians, and you know, not exclusively jazz, but a lot of jazz musicians. So I'm very curious to give this a listen, and I really like the label it's on too. It's kind of cool. Look at that. Huh. Louisiana Shakers Band. So yeah, it should just be jazz, and I'm hoping it is kind of like street music. I mean, obviously it was recorded in a studio, presumably, but I'm still hoping it's got that vibe to it, you know. Okay. Brace yourselves, strap in. It's time for the 7-inch singles. I'm not gonna show the labels. It's gonna take way too long for that. So let's just get started. Now, the first two are duplicates. I didn't realize I'd already bid on the same thing, but Undercover Baker Street. This is a cover version of the Jerry Rafferty song from 1992. Huge UK hit. I think it got to #2 in the UK. It's a dance version of it. It's actually really good. I always liked it. But my infinite wisdom, I got 2 of them. And the same thing for this next one. Mark Ullman featuring Gene Pitney, Something's Got a Hold of My Heart. Big #1 hit in the UK in early 1989. But we got 2. I do have somebody in mind actually to give the extras to for both of these. Next up we have Kim Appleby, Don't Worry. Widely regarded as being a tribute song to Mel Appleby, her sister, who passed away a couple of years before this. This was a big #2 hit in the UK in 1991? No, 1990, I'm sorry. And one of the few singles in this lot that has the jukebox punched out. So that probably means it was played in the jukebox. I'm hoping it doesn't have too much groove wear, but this is a really good pop song, really good. Next up we have a Stock Aitken Waterman track, Big Fun, Can't Shake the Feeling. They were pretty short-lived, to be honest. They were just around for a year or two before they faded into obscurity. They did a decent cover version of the Jacksons' Blame It on the Boogie, which I always liked as a kid. Ultimately, it's cheesy 80s pop fluff, but yeah, whatever. This was their second single release, I think. Can't Shake the Feeling. It's okay, but again, it was 99p, so why not? You guys know I like my cheesy 80s music anyway. Next up, Aretha Franklin, Who's Zooming Who, from 86, I think, 1985. Kylie Minogue, Wouldn't Change a Thing. I have on my wish list her album, Enjoy Yourself. It's been on my wish list for like 2 years. And one time that I finally ordered it off Discogs, the seller forgot to include it. And they gave me a refund for it, but they forgot to include it in the package. So it's, but anyway, that's this single is from that album. This is another Stock Aitken Waterman song. Next up we have the 7-inch single of Lay Your Hands on Me by the Thompson Twins. I did recently buy, if I can find it, Here's the Future Days. Actually, this skips on the first track, so I've bought another copy of it, which I need to clean. It's out there, ready to be cleaned. But the single version is not only different to the LP version, it's also a lot better. It's just been mixed better. It's got more layers to it, more texture. The LP version's good though. It's still a good song. Next up we have my favorite Richard Marx song, Hazard. I don't mind Richard Marx. He's alright. I have one of his albums, which somebody sent me. Might have been Robert NYC guy, Raised on Records. I think it was. But this is a slightly later track from '92. I think this is a great song. It's really good. I always liked the lyrics to it. Just good stuff. Big hit as well. It was a UK number, geez, 2 or 3, I think, something like that. Next up, this is a bit of a blind buy. Hard Rain, I Will Remember. I'd never heard of it before I saw it, and so I saw it was part of the, like, or one of the sort of 3,000 records that this seller was selling. It's on the London label. And I gave it a quick listen on YouTube, kind of liked it. I thought, you know what, I'll stick in a 99p bid. Nobody else went for it, so I got it. Next we have Gladys Knight and the soundtrack to License to Kill. I think a rather underrated James Bond movie. Sometime last year, I think it was maybe in the late summer last year, I did a video of my top 10, I think it was, favorite James Bond theme songs. And I think I put this at number 2. I really like it. Next up we have Elvis Costello and the Attractions. Now, I didn't realize this appears to be a live EP. It contains Accidents Will Happen, Allison, and Watching the Detectives. And it's a promo copy. So it looks like one side is completely taken up by Watching the Detectives, and the other tracks are on side 2. And yeah, I'm gonna be interested to get that a listen. Next up, 2 Unlimited, Tribal Dance. Great dance song from 1993. I have several of their 12-inch singles, but not that one. Next up we have Vic Reeves, Born Free. There's a little bit of a story behind this. I'm going to try to be quick because, to be honest, this is the second time I've recorded this video. I went to edit it and realized that I had somehow not recorded a huge chunk of it, and I think I ran out of space on my phone and I didn't realize. So let's be quick. So, when I was a teenager, my mother used to get these, when I lived in England, when I was a kid, my mother would get these, you know, women's magazines, Bella, and was it Women's Own or Woman's World or something. And I used to, when she was done with them, she'd let me have a look at them, which, don't laugh, but I liked, you know, they sometimes had interesting stories in them. I used to like reading the Agony Aunt column as well. Well, I remember reading a story in one of them about a woman whose husband had Alzheimer's, and Born Free was his favorite song. I don't know that it was this version of Born Free, probably not, because this came out in '91. But she was taking him in the car. She was taking him to a nursing home. This was like his last car ride, but he was going to a nursing home to die, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, he was getting more advanced in his Alzheimer's. He couldn't speak. He hadn't spoken for a long time and didn't communicate and didn't know what was happening, etc. So she was taking him, and they had the radio on in the car, and Born Free came on the radio, and he started singing it, his favorite song, and she was like weeping as she was driving because, you know, he sang it like perfectly, even though he hadn't spoken to her for months or even years. And I always liked this version of it. I think Vic Reeves was a comedian, right? I think. Anyway, that's a little story. Next up, we have one that I'm going to have trouble pronouncing. The name of the song is Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. This is a cover version, of course. This is a version from 1990. You guys, can you pronounce that? I don't freaking know. Bombalurina? I could never pronounce it. It was actually a UK #1 hit. It's a terrible song. It's like a novelty song, but it was cheap, you know. And it was a #1. Next up, we have Mai Tai in History. This is from 85. Oh, I thought it was from 86, but from 85. I always liked that label, that Virgin label. Very cool. Next up, we have Starlight Numero Uno, big UK hit in 1989. I think it was like a number 3 hit or something. They were effectively, I think they were Black Box, right? It was like the same production team. They just changed the name to Starlight. Anyway, it's like a dance. It's a house mix, a house song. Next up, we have a cover, or I'm sorry, a re-release, not a cover version, a re-release of Jackie Wilson's Reet Petite from 1980s. Well, it says 85, but this was a number 1 in the UK in 86. I think it was used in a commercial or something, and that's why it was repressed. Number 1 single. Next up, a little shout out here to Graham Watson, cracking vinyl, because he recently showed a big stack of 45s that he got. Actually, 2 or 3 days ago he showed it, and this was one of the records that he showed, and that was OMD's Sailing on the Seven Seas. There's a lot of S's. OMD, of course, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. This came out in 1991, and it was a little bit of a comeback for them. It's a pretty good track. I always liked it. Next up, we have Right Said Fred, but not the song you probably think it is. Don't Talk, Just Kiss. I think this was a number 4 hit in the UK in 1992. Of course, the big hit was I'm Too Sexy. Well, you know, I tell a little bit of a lie there. The biggest hit in the UK was probably Deeply Dippy, which was a number 1 hit in 92. I do have the 12-inch single of that, but don't tell anyone, but I have another eBay lot that's on its way, and I'm Too Sexy is in that lot. So, you know, that's going to be like a part 2. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Robbie Robertson, Somewhere Down the Crazy River. Really nice song from 1988. It says 87 here on the copyright, but I am pretty sure it was a UK hit in 88, not 87. And, oh, somebody's going to correct me. Robbie Robertson, I think, was in the band. I think. Somebody can correct me on that. Next up, another little shout out here to Graham Watson, because he was talking about Martika in his last video. But this is the 7-inch single of Toy Soldiers, famously sampled, of course, by Eminem. Next up, we have Technotronic featuring Yarkid K, Rocking Over the Beat. Not the best track, but it's nostalgic, it's decent, it was still a hit. And then we have I Found Someone by Cher. This was a hit in 88. Copyright says 87, but it was I'm almost certain it was a UK hit in like mid-ish 1988. Next up we have Rococo, or Rococo, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Italo house mix. It's got like, it's a mix of like Ride on Time, Numero Uno's on here, excuse me, Mantra for a State of Mind, that was S Express, French Kiss, Lil Louis, or Louis, or whatever, Pump Up the Jam, Technotronic, and Warning a Diva. It's a mix of those tracks, but I'm pretty sure it's not the original artist. They're like different singers just singing those songs. This is one I got into a little bit of a bidding war over. I don't know why. Anyway. Next up, really nice song. I always liked this. Sugar Box by Then Jericho. Then Jericho were sort of a... I was going to call them slightly alternative. That's definitely not true of this song. This is just soft rock. There's no two ways about it. But one or two of the songs were slightly more alternative rock. I'm thinking of a song called Big Area in particular. But yeah. Next up we have, this is a great song, Charles and Eddie, Would I Lie to You? I always liked this. Big hit. I think it was a number 1 in 1992. I used to listen to this. There's another little story for you real quick. I used to listen to this on my Walkman when I was a kid in 92. I would listen to talk radio and I would listen to music on the local station. And I just remember that, this song from that period in my life. Anyway, I got to give another shout out to Graham Watson. What is going on? Jim Diamond, I should have known better. He mentioned Jim Diamond in his recent video. And, oh shoot, I forget which band Jim Diamond was in previously. It's suddenly gone from my mind. But Graham was talking about him. Now, I should have known better. I gotta be honest with you, it's not a particularly great song. It's just a straight up fluffy 80s pop song. But it was a number 1 single, surprisingly, in the UK. Just because it's not, you know, that great. But Next up, this is kind of a double act here. We have Billy Bragg, She's Leaving Home, paired with Wet, 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 with a little help from my friends. Two covers, of course, of Sgt. Pepper songs. But this was a charity single for Childline in the UK. Children's charity of sorts. I don't remember much about Childline, but I think it's a number that kids can call if they're in danger, or they feel threatened, if they're being abused, that kind of thing. That was a #1 in '88. Next up, we have another #1. This is from '87, and it's another charity single. Ferry Aid, Let It Be. Cover version, of course, of the Beatles, although that's a horrific picture of Paul McCartney. It really is. But a bunch of famous and a few not so famous artists got together in '87. Ferry Aid refers to the Zeebrugge ferry disaster, which was a ferry that capsized. A bunch of people died in '87. So the Sun newspaper, I guess before it was so hated on Merseyside in England, got involved, and I don't know, they sponsored it or something. But it was a #1. Next we have I never knew if this was Alana or Elena. I always thought it was Alana, but Alana Miles, Black Velvet. This is a great track from 1989. Well, you know what? It says '89, but I remember it being a hit in 1990. But CNC Music Factory, Things That Make You Go Hmm. Their most famous song, of course, was Gonna Make You Sweat, which I do have the 12-inch single of, but I think this was the follow-up. And this is what, 91, was it? Yeah, 1991. Next up, this is great. DNA featuring Suzanne Vega, Tom's Diner. Tom's Diner was on Suzanne Vega's, what was the name of the album? Came out in '87, I think. I even have it. I should know the name of the album. Anyway, she originally recorded Tom's Diner, but it's like an a cappella song. It was then remixed into a sort of a club, almost house song by DNA in 1990, and it's really good. It was a big hit in the UK. I don't think it was a #1. I want to say it got to #2. I don't remember for sure. And I'm gonna have to do it again. I've got to mention Graham Watson, because he showed this in his most recent video too. Fiction Factory, Feels Like Heaven. This is a really good new wave song. I always liked it. Really good, really good. This is another one I got into a little bit of a bidding war over, but this is one of my favorite record labels of all time, the Orange and Yellow CBS label. It was used. I didn't realize it was used as late as '83, to be honest with you, but it was around in the '70s. Next we have Shakespeare's Sister, Stay, massive #1 hit in the UK in 1992. It was a big hit in the US as well. It was a top 10. I think it got to #4 or something, or 8, or well inside the top 10. Great track, one of the biggest hits of the year. It was in #1 for 8 weeks, and I think I'm right in saying that of any, it's the longest #1 of any female act, or female duo, or more than a duo, you know what I mean? A female band. That's what I'm trying to say. An all-girl group. So that's even beating out the likes of the Spice Girls and whoever else. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. This is a really great track. Next up we have more new wave, Furniture, Brilliant Mind. Really really nice song with a very nice chorus to it. This is from '86 or '85? 86. 1986. Really nice new wave song. A little bit cheesy, but Stevie Wonder, I Just Called to Say I Love You. Huge hit from 84 was it? Yeah, 1984. I love the label, that later 80s Motown label. Look at that, that's really nice. Next up, we have more Vic Reeves, this time featuring the Wonder Stuff and Dizzy, cover of the Tommy Rose song, #1 hit in England in 1991. Yeah, 91. It's not bad. It's not bad. Really pleased to pick this up. Meatloaf, Dead Ringer for Love. Really nice. This might be a repress. I think this is a repress. I'm pretty sure it is actually, but from 1981. But very pleased to pick that up. More new wave here. Classics Nouveau, Because You're Young. The sleeve on this is a little bit tatty, but the record's decent. Curiosity, Hang On In There Baby. I'm pretty sure this is a cover of the Johnny Bristol song, which I do have the album. I have the LP that song. And this was Curiosity Killed the Cat. They just like renamed themselves in 1992. I kind of wish I didn't order this. It's just an okay song. I mean, I like the original, the Johnny Bristol. This is just a passable cover. It was one of those deals when I was first going through all of the auctions that this guy had listed, and I was like, okay, I'll put in a quick little cheeky little 99p bid here. I'll put in another 99p bid there, and ended up winning a few more than I intended to. But anyway, we've got a few left. Next up, we have Chris Rea, Fall If You Think It's Over. I don't mind Chris Rea. I like a few of his songs. And I think in that other eBay lot that I have coming, I think Let's Dance is coming in that lot too, which is probably my favorite song of his. Another Kim Appleby song, GLAD. There's a song, or there's a story attached to this song as well. When I was a kid, I used to make these sort of mix songs using the instrumental version of this, which is on the B side. And I would put, you're going to laugh. So anyone in the UK will know who the Famous Five are. The Famous Five was a collection of stories by a British author named Enid Blyton. They came out in the first half of the 20th century. And my brother and I used to get the audiobooks. We used to rent them from the library. And we used to listen to them all the time. We'd make my mother listen to them at lunchtime, during Sunday lunch. When I had a bath, I would put one of these tapes on in the background and listen to it. And I took little samples from that, and I put it to the instrumental version of GLAD by Kim Appleby. I kind of wish I still had those. Anyway, I think we've got, let's see, 4 more to go. Eurythmics, Thorn in My Side. Unfortunately, the sleeve is not great, but the record's fine. London Beat, I've Been Thinking About You. This is a really good pop song. I really like that song, from 1990. Don Pablo's Animals, Venus, cover of the Shocking Blue Jeans version. Sorry, my mind went blank. Also covered, of course, by Bananarama. And last but maybe least, no, I don't know, novelty song, Star Trekkin' by The Firm. #1 hit in 1987 in the UK. You've got to check the video out. Go search on YouTube, The Firm, Star Trekkin'. It's the craziest music video you've ever seen. It's like claymation or claymotion, whatever they call it, with the little animated figures that, you know, they spend like 5 days to get 20 seconds worth of footage by moving it frame by frame. And I remember in 87, it took me ages to find this because it was #1 at the time. It was sold out in a couple of the shops they went to. And finally, I think I found it in like a Woolworths or something. And it's a ridiculous song. I gotta be honest, it's freaking stupid, but you know, I wanted it. It's 80s, it's cheesy. So that's it, guys. I'm sorry we kind of sped through that rather quickly, but you know, I wanted to try to keep this under 30 minutes, and we've just about managed to do that. Thanks for sticking with it. And yeah, there's some more on the way. We've got another eBay lot winging its way to me. Not as big as this lot. I gotta be honest, I ordered like 90 records. I kind of went crazy. And I think this represents about 2/3 of them, with the other third still coming. But anyway, appreciate all you guys who subscribed, everybody who comments. Thanks as always for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.